Welcome to Write Your Book Your Way, the interview series that goes behind the scenes of real self-published books to explode the myth that there's a right way to write your book, and to give you the freedom to write in a way that feels good to you and gets it finished. I'm Kris Emery, owner and lead editor at Kris Emery Editorial, and I'll be interviewing my past clients, all first-time non-fiction writers and entrepreneurs, to show you how this can be done, or could be done. Today I'm talking with Yasmin Vorajee, who I worked with as editor on her book, Tiny Time, Big Results. Yasmin helps small business owners run a profitable business in less than 20 hours a week. She is the creator of Tiny Time, Big Results and the founder of the Tiny Time Business School. A former vice president of leadership development, Yasmin specialises in business and marketing strategy and runs her thriving business from the northwest of Ireland, where she lives with her husband and their 3 young children. Here's what Yasmin has to say about the behind the scenes of writing her book. Hi everyone, today we're here with Yasmin Vorajee, and she's the owner of Tiny Time Big Results, and I'm going to just dive straight into some questions so she can tell you all about what exactly that means. Hi Yasmin.
Hi Kris, I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited to go back to your book because we did it a couple of years ago and I still see it everywhere because you had such a great photo shoot with your book. So it's really fantastic and it's present in all of your social media, so it's really cool. But it's really great to be going back into the process and going behind the scenes of what you actually did. So I'm just going to dive straight in with the first question, which is how does your book relate to your business? And yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do and introduce yourself, that'd be
awesome. Okay, cool. So Tiny Time Big Results is all about how to grow and scale your 20-hour week business. And Tiny Time Big Results came about because when I started my business after 12 years in corporate, and I had a 15-month-old running around, and I had literally 2 to 3 hours a day for my business. And I was getting so wound up and so stressed, I don't have enough time. And, there was a moment where I kind of thought to myself, well, you want more kids, you're never going to have more time. So how can you make it work? And so I think it was just about a shift in the way that I asked the question. And I thought, okay, well, how can I do this? And that's really the journey that I've been on in business around, well, how can I get big results from Tiny Time? And that's the reason that I wanted to write the book as well, because when I started my business, I spent about 2 years in the wilderness of literally not having a clue of how to market myself, not even knowing what my niche was, and really struggling with all of that. And it was only, but I still did the work. I still kind of talked about what I did with people, and I still got clients. And, when I worked with a coach and we were talking about the work I had been doing, and she was like, God, you're really good at getting things done in a short amount of time. And that's really where the light bulb switched on and went, oh, and that's where Tiny Time Big Results came from. So when I decided to write the book, I wanted to write a book that basically I could give to myself at the start of my journey to say, okay, this is the formula, or this is the plan, the blueprint, do this and you'll be fine. And I wanted to write a book so that it would be like the best business card, where I could say to someone, if you want to check out the book, go and check out the book. On Kindle, it's next to nothing. You can get a paperback, less than the cost of a lunch. You could go and get my whole methodology in the book. And that was really the driving force, because not everyone is going to come and work with me, but you can certainly get the book. And I really wanted a way to be able to organize my methodology, my intellectual property, into something that was very, very tangible. And, honestly, I love my book so much. It's like my 4th baby, because I have 3 real babies. So this is my 4th baby. And it makes me so proud to have gone through that process and birthed it, and with your assistance as well.
And it really was a process, because I think there was a point at which you realized you weren't ready to birth the book. And we started talking probably a year before you actually had the book that you eventually published, because you thought you had, 70% of it. And then I think you did a bit of thinking, and then the real book came together. Was that part of pinning down your process? Were you still working out what your signature system actually was at that time, and the book sort of helped you organize your thoughts, or how did that come about?
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it, because I'd been writing the book for like 2 years before I actually wrote the book. And in my head, my philosophy is always, if you can do a little bit every day, you're gonna, go so far. And that's really kind of the heart of Tiny Time Big Results anyway. It's like, just do a little bit every day and you'll make progress. I always say to my clients, an object in motion stays in motion. It needs so much more energy to get something going. So that was the philosophy that I used for the book. And I remember there was a point where I looked at it, and I looked at what I'd read and written rather, and I just thought, God, this is rubbish. This is absolute rubbish. I just thought it was crap. And so I decided to scrap it, and I rewrote the book in a month, and I wrote 35,000 words in a month. And, it's so funny when I look back on me writing that book. And I had a very clear structure. I had a very clear plan. Like, I used Microsoft Word, and I had like the titles, the subtitles. So I knew all the different aspects of it. So when I'd sit down, like, and I would wake up that month, I was waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to write for a couple of hours before the kids got up and before doing the school run and everything. So I'd sit down and I'd know exactly what I wanted to write in that section. But I only had that level of clarity because I'd been doing the work with my clients already. And I think that was the big thing, because it was about clarifying the process in my mind about what exactly, what it was, what my model looked like. And I don't think I could have done that if I hadn't done the work. So it's funny, because I get a lot of people who come to work with me and they're like, I want to create a group program. I want to create, I want to write my book and everything. And when I say to them, like, have you done the work one-on-one with clients? No, I don't want to do one-on-one. I just want to go straight to, like the group format.
Oh, right.
Okay. And so my challenge to them is, okay, I want you to go and do it with at least 5 to 10 clients one-on-one. Okay. Because you need to test the process. You need to test where it works. And, and that's what I had done with my clients. I'd taken them through, and then the book helped me to put a more tighter structure on it. And actually, when we did the editing, when we did the first round of editing, you came back to me and you said, this bit doesn't feel like it fits here. It feels like it should be earlier. And so my 4 kind of like parts of the profit principle. So Tiny Time Big Results, the book is about the 4 principles, which is purpose, profit, productivity, and play. Now, in the profit section, you have 4 sections, which is around your message, so your marketing message, your leverage, so the offer that you create that allows you to exchange value, not time. And then you've got your attraction strategy, and then your conversion, so how you actually get potential clients to becoming paying clients. But before I sent it to you for editing, it was message, attract, convert, leverage. And I look back and I think, why did I have it in that order? That doesn't make any sense. And you came back to me. And so now, for all of you, if you've read the book and you've done the programs or anything, and now it's down to Kris that it's because it's message, leverage, attract, and convert. So I'm going to give you full credit for that, because you told me it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, lots of people come back to me and say that they've changed elements of their business because of a question I asked about their book structure. So you're not the only person to say that, but it's something that we don't really do or necessarily have a lot of insight on when we're doing it as a process in our business. We never get that direct feedback, that questioning. But in a book, of course, I am questioning every little detail, because I want to make sure that the reader understands where they're at, because they haven't got that luxury really of asking you questions. Of course, when you do it one-to-one, if somebody questions something, you give them an answer, but a book has to deliver all of those answers. So there isn't that luxury of any ambiguity at all. So yeah, that's interesting that you say that. So just going back a second, you mentioned that you, like, when you sat down for that month to write, you were very clear and you had a plan and you knew exactly what you were writing that day. Was that different from the first 2 years that you were sort of working on it and dabbling and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Do you think
100%.
that's made the difference to actually getting it across the line?
Yeah, 100%. Because I know when I looked back on it, I still wasn't clear about what I was trying to say. My voice hadn't been developed enough in a business sense. And it's actually quite interesting, because when I look back and I think, God, you know what, you sit down, I'd sit down and my fingers just wouldn't stop. And it was almost like I was channeling it. It was just coming through me. And it really, sometimes when I read it, I actually kind of go, God, did I write that?
I know.
Because
Such a
it just,
great feeling.
it almost feels otherworldly. It's like, wow, I actually wrote that. But it flowed through me. And I think it was a combination of doing the work with clients, trusting myself, and actually and I was really, really clear that year, because that was the year I turned 40. And I was going to get it published in my 40th year. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I had a very clear a kind of like plan, because before it was going to come to you for editing, for the first round of editing, I was going to have the first draft written. And then I recruited 5 test readers, so that people who would read it for me and tell me if it made sense, if it flowed and all that kind of stuff. And out of those 5, only one person really knew anything about Tiny Time Big Results, which I think was good, because then it was like a fresh audience and they were just like, yeah, I really enjoyed that. They again had questions, and that changed the way I put certain things in the book. But that really helped, because I was like, okay, I have to have the first draft written by this date, because I was going to give them 10 days to read it and give me feedback. And I created like a form for them to fill in for each chapter, so that they could give me really good feedback. I don't want just someone to say to me, yeah, it was great, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I want to go a bit more.
Friends or family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pat on the back.
Exactly. I wanted to go granular, but not so granular that it would take up a huge amount of their time. Yeah. And then I gave myself 2 weeks to then make any changes, and then it was going to go to you. So because I had booked you and I had paid a deposit to secure you, you were like, this is the deadline. And I remember like, oh God, that last week when I had to have the first draft written, I was there like, and my husband was like, listen, just push it out. No, it can't be pushed out. I was like a demon.
I was just going to ask, actually, how did you know when you were finished, like ready to hand it over? Was it like the deadline was coming and you just had to be finished, or did you, I don't know, get to a point where you just felt satisfied with it? How did you know? I guess with a structure, the good thing is when it's like complete, at least, when you've got all the content down. But I think there's a temptation to tweak and tweak and tweak. And you got feedback nice and early with your test readers, which is awesome. But I guess when lots of questions come up, it could give you a bit of wobbly sort of feeling about what you've written and that kind of thing. So how did you like decide, okay, this is it, this is going now, I'm pressing send?
I think it was the fact that I had the structure, because I made a very conscious decision that like, okay, I was doing a section and maybe 2 sections depending on how long they were. I remember saying to myself that I'm going to leave the introduction to the end, because I wanted to be able to know what I had actually written, and then I could do an introduction. And I remember spending quite a bit of time on thinking what my opening line was going to be. And that was really important to me, because it's a bit like a subject line of an email. You want to craft that very carefully to make sure that someone opens your email. And so I wanted like someone to be able to read the sentence, like, so my opening sentence, if I can just read it.
Yeah, please.
So I put, the day I was paid £3,000 for a 30-minute talk was the day my life changed forever. And I wanted someone to just kind of go, I could do that. Like, I want to know more. Yeah, exactly. And there was, like, perfectionism is one of, those things that will always rear its ugly head. And, even though I sent it, I was so afraid of what people were going to say. And, but I think I think I just knew, because I had all these deadlines in the plan, that I was like, it just has to go. And actually the test readers were great. One of them actually became a client because she loved the book so much. She actually became a private client. So again, that gave me great, yeah, exactly. That's what it gave me great validation to know that it was, it was doing what it needed to do.
Awesome. So we've looked at your process. We've looked at like how you actually got it to the finish line. What would you do differently if you were to do it again?
or when you are to do it again, or like what did anything go wrong that you were just like, nah, I wouldn't want to do that way in future?
You don't have any regrets about it. I think, in terms of, I'd had the intention for such a long time to do the book. And I, yes, the couple of years worth of work, was binned. But I actually think that was the right decision to make. I would completely, and one of the things I think, Kris, is really important is I wasn't just doing all of this stuff in isolation. I was learning from other people about what they do. I was doing programs and things, and I was working with coaches to help me with my book. I had that intention. So, when I came up with the idea of doing the test readers, it wasn't just something that came to me. It was something that had been a recommendation from a coach, and, so a lot of the things that I've done, and like in the book, I encourage people to, if they've if they've got the book, to join the book club. And where I've got free resources for them. So I was looking at what other people in my industry do. So peppered around in the book is, like, oh, get your free resource here. So that would continue the conversation. So I was I think it's about being strategic and mindful about what you want the book to do. And ultimately, the book for me is a business building tool. So I wanted to make sure that it would allow that to happen, that, people would go, oh, this is a great book. Because I know that's how I as a consumer work. If you said to me, oh, have you heard of such and such a body? And I'd be like, no. And you go, oh, she's got a book. The first thing I'll do is I'll go and get the book.
Yeah.
Then I'll probably go and check out the website and check her out or check him out. And, so that's kind of what I want my people to do as well, is kind of go, oh, I really like this. One of the plans that I have for this year is to turn it into an audio book. And, somebody said to me, oh, you're going to get someone to narrate it. And I said, no, I want to do it myself. Because when you read the book, I remember someone saying to me, it reads like you talk, so it's almost like as if you're listening to me having a conversation, if I'm doing training or anything like that. This is how I talk. And so I think that, again, it builds connection, it builds rapport when people can hear you rather than a narrator, so I actually don't think I have any regrets about the way that I actually published that book.
Yeah, I guess you'd already done something differently by starting over. So you learned from those early mistakes and corrected it before you actually published anything. So you'd already tweaked your approach. I take it you are a big reader of business books. Before you...
A lot.
Yeah. Yes. So you'd obviously not just read a lot of your genre, but other books as well. What do you think people tend to do? Not necessarily wrongly, but what are the kinds of books that you would never write? What sort of things do you see people doing in business books and turns you off?
Now, my book is self-published, right? And so this is an important thing that I want to say, like, because it's not published by a publishing house or anything like that. But one of the things that I was really passionate about was creating a quality product, which is why I invested in you to do the editing, because I knew you were awesome. And I wanted to make sure that whoever edited my book was going to be like top notch. And then I spent time, working with people doing the cover, the interior, the layout, and all of that kind of thing. So that when you can see it in the background there, that when you look at the book, it looks like a quality book. Now, also, it's my color. So my kids are so funny because they're like, oh, mommy, it's your color. It's like, this is my phone. There's my color of my phone. I was like, everything is turquoise. But I wanted something that would be really, really amazing. And what I have seen from other books, and this is just something that I think is really important for people to be mindful of, is, once it's out there, like, it's representing you. So you want it to be quality. So, take the time to invest in someone to do a really great cover for you. And I think that this is really important. Like, obviously, we have the adage of don't judge a book by its cover. We all do. I know I certainly do with books. So, we do. Make sure you've got a really great cover, but also take the time to think. Go ahead. You can
say we tend to notice when it's got a bad cover. I don't know if I would be able to tell the difference between two great covers, but or, like, apart from personal preference, but we definitely notice when there are some like slightly that you can tell. Often you can tell a DIY cover.
Yeah, or even just the font. And I just look at it and I go, I don't even want to read it because it just doesn't look like as if I want, you know, it just doesn't appeal to me.
Is rubbish. If the outside is rubbish, like, you just imagine that those two go hand in hand, and it's going to be poorly written if it's got a slightly janky cover. Yeah.
And also, like, when you know, take the time to think about what you're writing about, like think through the methodology, especially for a business book. You know, if it's a nonfiction and this is something that's going to help you to build your business, I want you to think through everything that you're putting in there. And it's a bit like when you're creating a program or a course, like, don't throw the kitchen sink into it. You know, be very deliberate about what you put in and what you take out as well, because I think that's really, really important. Because like that, I've seen books where I look at it inside and even it just feels like someone's taken a Word document and just sent that in, rather than getting someone to actually do a proper formatting. Like, you just want, if this is the first interaction that someone gets with your business, I want it to feel, I want it to feel really amazing. Like my cover, and I didn't even really think this was going to happen, but it's got a really lovely soft feel to it. I don't know what paper it is that they use, but it feels almost velvety, you know. And you know, if I'm standing, I'm so proud of it, because I think of all the love that I poured into it, and I know it creates an amazing impact for the people that have read it, because it won an award last year for entrepreneurship book. So I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. You know, I know that this book gets people results. Like, if they did nothing else and just read the book, join the book club where you get a workbook that is associated with the book. You know, there's so much in there that this is going to really help you to have that 20-hour week business. Like, make sure it's a quality product.
Yeah. And going back to what you said there about the knowing what it is and having that clarity, knowing what it's not is equally important. You know, putting the kitchen sink into it, absolutely not. But that comes from defining not just what it is, but also what you don't want it to be. And sometimes that means leaving out story, but sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, that's another book, that's a deeper book, that or you can elaborate on one pillar of your program in a deeper way in another book. And quite often those are follow-up books, you know, those are second time authors are quite often going deeper into one aspect of their book, but it would be completely unbalanced to have elaborated on that in, you know, take 40% of the book up with one pillar and then just squeeze in like little 10% here and there around it, you know. So balance is a part of that clarity, and making sure that when you have got your structure, that it isn't completely out of whack. So that
I
was
think the other thing
really clear with your book. It was easy to edit in many ways because it had so much thought go into it.
And I think a really important thing that maybe people they think it's important but they don't pay enough attention to it, is the title and the subtitle. You know, when you think about when you're in the bookshop or when you're browsing online, like, what's going to capture your attention? And I really think this is so important, is that you do not want to blend in. You don't want to have a title that a million other people could have the same book, you know. And so I think that's really important, that make it stand out. And, you know, because, like, you know, your title could be something that's really stand out, and then you've got a really great subtitle that explains what it's about. But, you know, take the time. And like, for programming names rather, and things like that, I'm always looking and seeing, okay, what's really good about that, and what's really, you know, like, when you think about the 7 habits of highly effective people, when you think about, I'm looking at all the ones that are on my you know, the work we were born to do, and Science of Getting Rich, you know, like, there's such amazing books and great titles, and you think we can learn so much from, you know, looking at what other people have done, and like that, you know, we're always learning from other people, so it's really, really important. Take the time to think it through.
And titles and subtitles are something that you can definitely get a lot of assistance with, if not from your editor than from copywriters and writing programs and all sorts of things. So it sounds like the bottom line is quality, which is definitely a message after my own heart. So I think we're just going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time today. And I will make sure that everybody knows where to get your awesome book underneath the video when it gets published. Thank you so much, Yasmin.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kris.
Cheers.